10 British criminals who escaped justice. Justice isn't always guaranteed, even in a system as developed as the UK's. Throughout British legal history, there have been cases where individuals suspected or even accused of serious crimes avoided prosecution altogether. Some vanished without a trace, others were acquitted under unusual circumstances, and a few were just too powerful to bring down. This list explores 10 British criminals who escaped justice. These are not just tales of fugitives or missing suspects. They reflect how legal systems can be tested, outwitted, or delayed. Each case is grounded in fact, respectful in tone, and designed to engage audiences without sensationalism. 10. Lord Lucan, the missing aristocrat. Richard John Bingham, better known as the 7th Earl of Lucan, became a household name after the mysterious events of November 8, 1974. His children's nanny, Sandra Rivett, was murdered in the family home, and his estranged wife, Veronica Lucan, was also attacked but survived. She named Lucan as the assailant. Lucan disappeared the same night. His car was later found abandoned in East Sussex, but he was never seen again. An inquest in 1975 named him as the killer, yet without a trial, there was no official conviction. He was declared legally dead in 1999, and a death certificate was issued in 2016. To this day, his disappearance remains one of Britain's great unsolved mysteries, and Lucan, one of the most notorious British criminals who escaped justice. 9. Andrew Moran, the man who jumped from the dock. Andrew Moran's story is something out of a crime thriller. During a trial in 2009 for an armed robbery he had committed in 2005, Moran leapt from the dock at Burnley Crown Court, pushed security officers aside, and fled the building, mid-hearing. He remained on the run for 4 years, living under a false identity in Spain. Photos later emerged of him enjoying beach holidays and luxury accommodations. In 2013, he was arrested in a dramatic raid near Alicante. Though he was later convicted and sentenced to 16 years, his audacious escape and extended period abroad made him one of the UK's most public fugitives during that time. 8. Kenneth Noye, acquitted, then convicted. In the 1980s, Kenneth Noye was already well known to police, especially for his role in laundering gold from the infamous Brinks Mat robbery. In 1985, while under surveillance, he fatally stabbed undercover officer John Fordham on his property. Noye claimed self-defence and was acquitted in court. In 1996, Noye killed 21-year-old Stephen Cameron during a road rage incident in Kent. This time, he fled the UK and settled in Spain. After an international search, he was extradited, convicted of murder in 2000, and sentenced to life. His early acquittal and long escape abroad show how a powerful and well-connected individual can delay justice for years. 7. Ronnie Biggs, train robber turned fugitive. Ronnie Biggs was a member of the gang behind the Great Train Robbery in 1963, which netted over £2.6 million, an enormous sum at the time. Though captured and sentenced to 30 years, Biggs escaped from Wandsworth Prison in 1965. He fled to Paris, then Australia, and eventually settled in Brazil. Due to Brazil's extradition laws and his relationship with a Brazilian woman, Biggs was able to avoid being returned to the UK for decades. He even granted media interviews and became something of a folk figure. In 2001, Biggs returned to the UK voluntarily due to poor health. He was imprisoned until 2009, when he was released on compassionate grounds. Ronnie Biggs escaped justice for nearly 4 decades, and his case remains one of the most famous examples of evading the British legal system. 6. Terry Adams, Britain's Teflon Don. Terry Adams was the leader of the Clerkenwell crime syndicate, often called the Adams Family, one of Britain's most feared organised crime networks. Active in the 1980s and 1990s, Adams was suspected of involvement in drug trafficking, extortion, and contract killings. Yet for decades, he avoided prosecution for major crimes. In 2007, he was finally convicted of money laundering and sentenced to 7 years. His defence reportedly cost over £10,000 per day. Despite intense police surveillance and repeated arrests for parole breaches, Adams has never been convicted of violent crime or drug offences, even though multiple police reports link him to serious criminal operations. To many, he remains one of Britain's most powerful criminals who escaped true justice. 5. John Stonehouse, the MP who faked his death. In one of the strangest political scandals in UK history, Labour MP John Stonehouse faked his own death in November 1974. Facing charges of fraud and bankruptcy, he left his clothes on a Miami beach to make it look like he had drowned. Stonehouse then travelled to Australia under a false identity, but suspicious banking activity gave him away. He was arrested in Melbourne and extradited to the UK, where he was convicted of fraud and sentenced to 7 years in prison. Although he served time, the dramatic nature of his escape and the initial success of his plan made him a symbol of how political power can sometimes dodge accountability, if only temporarily. 4. Aung San Suu Kyi, the cross-border killer. In April 2011, Aung San Suu Kyi murdered all 4 members of the Ding family in Northampton. After committing the brutal killings, Kyi fled the UK by bus, ferry, and eventually a flight to China. Due to the legal complexities between China and the UK, particularly around capital punishment, his extradition took over a year. British officials had to guarantee that Kyi would not face the death penalty. He was finally returned in 2012, and in 2013, Kyi was convicted and sentenced to life in prison with a minimum term of 40 years. While justice was eventually served, the long delay and international complications made it a landmark case in cross-border law enforcement. 3. Kevin Parle, the giant who vanished. Standing over 6'6", Kevin Parle is one of the UK's most recognisable fugitives. He is wanted in connection with 2 separate murders: 16-year-old Liam Kelly in 2004 and mother of 3, Lucy Hargreaves, in 2005. Both in Liverpool. Despite widespread media attention, police appeals, and an entire podcast dedicated to tracking him down, manhunt finding Kevin Parle, he has never been found. Sightings have been reported in Spain, Asia, and even South America. He remains at large, and his case is considered one of the most serious ongoing fugitive hunts in Britain today. 2. Nicholas Rossi, the man who faked death and identity. Although born in the United States, Nicholas Rossi fled to the UK under the false name Arthur Knight. Rossi was wanted in the US for serious crimes, including fraud and alleged sexual offences. In 2020, an obituary claimed he had died of cancer. But in 2021, he was found alive in a Scottish hospital, where he had been admitted with COVID-19. Despite claiming mistaken identity, fingerprints and tattoos confirmed he was indeed Nicholas Rossi. Legal battles over his extradition continue, but his use of fake documents, elaborate disguises, and manipulation of the legal system made him a modern example of escaping justice through deception. 1. Bible John, Glasgow's greatest criminal mystery. Between 1968 and 1969, 3 women in Glasgow were murdered after nights out at the Barrowland Ballroom. Each had met a smartly dressed man who quoted Bible verses, earning him the nickname Bible John. Despite Scotland's largest ever manhunt at the time, no one was ever arrested. The killer's identity remains a mystery. Theories over the years have connected him to known criminals, or posited that he left the UK, but no hard evidence has emerged. To this day, Bible John is seen as the most notorious unidentified criminal in Scottish history, and a chilling reminder that even high-profile serial crimes can remain unsolved. Some of these criminals ran, others hid in plain sight, and some simply slipped through legal gaps that still baffle experts today. What they have in common is this: each one is a clear example of a British criminal who escaped justice, at least for a while. Thank you for watching this video. Please don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell.